401. Welcome to Carmelita Gardens, everybody. I am here with Kristen. Let's see right there.
Hi.
And we are at the very entrance to Carmelita Gardens, which I'll turn around and you can see here. So it's a beautiful, beautiful sunny day. We've had actually just the right combination of rain and sunshine that keeps everything green. You see, this is not Photoshop. It's really that green out there, and our gardens are growing and our cisterns are full of water. So it's a perfect environment and climate for off-grid living. What we're going to do is we're going to take a little tour, and we're going to go from the beginning or the entrance where we are here, and then we're going to go around the town square. This is a traditional town square, 300 feet by 300 feet. Which back to the age of antiquity has proven to be just the right scale. It's based on the human proportions, and we've done that. Why reinvent the wheel? So we designed the town square to be the same dimensions, and then the whole plan is to have little mom and pop shops around the square. And recently, one of our owners has been approved by the Ministry of Education to run a preschool, and we're looking forward to preschool and even expanding into other grades as time goes on. So a full multi-generational community is in the works. We already have that with Kristen and her family, Emily and her family, and soon the Sonards and their big family, 7 children. They're the ones actually with the certificate for the preschool. So that is going to be located here. So the town square meant to be a very convivial, community-based town square, place for picnics and cinema on the green, farmers market, art in the park, all those kinds of wonderful community activities. Our journey today will take us around the town square, and then we have this nice row of off-grid cottages. They're all on a microgrid and charming little cottages. They're on our garden lots, which are 50 by 100. And you can see the town is laid out once again in a traditional manner so that there's higher density around the town square. And then the lots get bigger as you move out away from the town square. And so we'll go down the cottage lane there. We're going to go to where the Riverside Park is. That's where folks will go down. And nice, like right now is a beautiful time of the day. The sun sets over here, so you can watch the little river otters playing around with sunset. Nice, chilling out in the river. And then people also will put in inner tubes here and float around over to another river access. It's about a 1-hour float. So nature gave us our own little lazy river right here at our doorstep. We'll then continue down the road here, and you see where we have the different river village lots, and we have homes, villas, beautiful villas built along this river stretch here, including Kristen's home, where we will end the tour today with a Q&A on her back porch overlooking the river. We'll continue around by the Rain Tree Park, around the peninsula to see the villas there, and then continue past our Scout Park, which is where we have a recreation area with a sport court, horseshoe pit. We'll see some houses along the way here. Go around to the east side, where this is a much more forested area. So if you like trees, this is a beautiful area. We'll continue around the Maya Mounds, and then kind of zigzag back through the forested lots there. And then we will return to Kristen's home over here for the Q&A. So without further ado, well, first I wanted, before you pull off, Kristen, I wanted to show everybody, I don't know if you can kind of zoom in there, but this is a beautiful house. It's right here at our entrance. It's got that nice cupola. And from the inside, really, it just lights up the interior. It's very nice and spacious. The home is scheduled to be finished the beginning of September. The owner will move down the middle of August, and we're really looking forward to having a nice golden ribbon and housewarming party for her. And I just am so pleased at how beautiful the house is, because it's the first home that you see when you enter Carmelita Gardens. And you get one chance to make a first impression, and that sure does make a nice impression. And so anyway, we're looking forward to more houses. We have 20 in the pipeline, different stages of design, drafting, engineering, and quoting, and permitting. So pretty soon we see a lot more home construction sites going up in Carmelita Gardens. So as we head towards the town square, as I mentioned, it's an area that's designed for different community functions. The triangular area in front of us that I showed on the map, that's where we will have like a community center, or sort of a head house where we can have gatherings. And that's down the road a bit. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. Once we get a critical mass a population, which is growing, and it's growing fast, but we still, I think, have a ways to go. In the meantime, we're going to have a community gathering area, which I'll point out when we get there. Here we have a home that is also a resale. We do have some resales that we'll be pointing out. And we had a town hall meeting on Monday, and we were discussing that the sign of a really good economy is when money is exchanging hands at a good rate. If it slows down, it's a recession. If it stops, a depression. But the opposite of that is what's happening right now in Carmelita, and that's a boom. Right now, we have some people that, for different reasons, medical reasons, personal reasons, are moving on. We have 4 homes. All but one of them have already been sold. But we have 20 new homes to be built and new households moving in. So it's a really good sign. This is our cottage row. As I mentioned, this is on a microgrid, but every homeowner here has kind of put their own personality into it with the different colors, and even with different names. Let's stop here for just a minute, okay? I'm going to jump out on so what we're going to be doing here. So yeah, we have names from the Aurora Tropical here, Ithaca, Eco Nomad, many different names, and they all have special meaning to their owners. Hey, Gloria. And so this is where we have our Monday market garden, and you can see our organic garden out in the back there. One of our owners, Harry and Jackie from Minnesota, they have an organic apple orchard that they're selling to a trust. They want to protect it as a farm, and so they're preparing to move down and remotely working with he's been a professor, lecturer. He's a diehard permaculturist. We're really blessed to have him taking on the garden, and he's done a great job along with the staff here. Daria she's just been fantastic. You'll get a chance to meet Harry, Daria, and everybody here. There she is. Say hi. What we're in the process of doing here is we're going to be putting a roof over this structure here and converting the storage units into offices, a little kitchen area, snack shop, and storage for the garden. So this will be a roofed area, and we'll have a nice slab here for events and meeting and expanded market garden space. Right now they have a little snack shop right here, but again, they'll have room to expand. We have more and more construction projects going on. The crews come over here to get cold drinks and snacks during the day. So they do a brisk business, and it's going to be even more so when we have all these projects going on. All right. Say hi, Gloria. So here we have on the other side from the cottage row, the rest of the houses, all actually throughout Carmelita, not just across the road, but everywhere else, they're independent water collection, storage, and filtration systems, their own independent multi-chambered eco-friendly septic tanks, whereas the microgrid is what serves this row of cottages. Here's a nice example of our bungalow. You'll see in some of our literature, as well as on our website, we have cottages. There's Gregory. Gregory and Kristen's oldest, Ian, are just the best of friends and champion chess players. They've entered several tournaments in Belize. It's great to see. So this is an example of a bungalow. There's some other bungalow examples, some cottages. We have another bungalow coming up here. That was our first one, called La Sombra. It has a wraparound porch. La Sombra, it's Spanish for shade, so it's got a nice shaded area. In fact, on the Belize flag, it says Sub Umbra Florio. Under the shade, we flourish. And when you're here, you realize that, yes, to get under the shade with a nice breeze, it's about 20 degrees difference. So right here in front of us is the access to the Riverside Park, which I had mentioned earlier, where we launch canoes and kayaks and just chill out there at sunset or on the weekends. The big tradition in Belize is Sunday family barbecues. And so that's definitely something that we do a lot of. They are down at the Riverside Park is what it's called. Over there through the trees, it's hard to see. We got a couple of more houses there. There's villas on the river. And then we have one of our, it was really the first big villa that we have. It's a custom home that has a pool in the backyard. It's got a gourmet kitchen, a big, fancy mahogany bar, and an outdoor kitchen, semi-detached guest room. And it's completely off grid. And it's just an example from cottages to luxury villas. You don't have to give up any creature comforts living off grid. While there is a pioneering spirit here in Carmelita, we also have a lot of the creature comforts that you expect, back home, if you will.
I think Frank and Amy's home is a good example too. We get a lot of questions about whether or not you, how quickly you need to build after you purchase a lot. And the answer is never. If you want to expand your space like I did, you can purchase an additional lot, or if you're as an investment, you can own it. Once you start building is another question, but if you want to own a lot and keep it and not build on it, that's an option.
Correct. Yep. There's no building restriction or time frame. And somebody's asked about hiring your own builder. That is something that's available. In the past, we've wanted to vet builders, but really the best way to do it is just to, for your protection, to ensure that everything is going to go as planned. Your builder needs to be bonded and insured, and that's a typical thing in the state. So if it's not a builder that is on our approved list and you want to hire your own, then you just need to show that they're bonded and insured, because we don't want you to be left with half a home, and the community doesn't want half a home. We've already got a couple of homes that are stagnated, and just want to avoid that. Here's Kristen's beautiful home right here. That's a great example of a nice villa on the river, and we will be returning there for the Q&A. Then on this side, we have an example of a bungalow, but in this area, which has experienced flooding, we want the houses to be raised up. And so Dave raised up a bungalow here. And Dave is our kind of volunteer arborist. He's our Johnny Appleseed. He goes around planting and watering and pruning trees. And so he's named his house the greenhouse, which is really appropriate. And this is a beautiful rain tree that is in the Rain Tree Park. So we've set aside different green spaces, and some of them are special, like this park right here has this beautiful rain tree. And the nice story behind that is one of our early owners. He went to propose to his girlfriend, and he did it underneath the rain tree. We hung a mahogany seat there that had carved on underneath the seat, "Will you marry me?" And she said yes. So the legend of the rain tree is that it's to find the secrets of happiness in life. And I think Jeff found it that day. And they have 3 beautiful children now. So it's a nice story behind the rain tree. So here we have an example of what Kristen was talking about, owners who decided to buy multiple lots. And you can see Dan and Erba, they have real green thumbs. So what they've done with their additional lots here is they've planted all of these gardens and orchards. They've got, I don't know all of the things that they have in there, but they've done a great job with, looks like bananas and plantains. And I see some sunflowers over there. They have a whole variety of things. I see
Mustard
the
greens,
mustard greens.
Swiss
they got
chard,
Swiss
all sorts
chard,
of
yeah,
things.
great. And then behind their house, they built a yoga deck. And so they host yoga. I don't know if it's weekly or periodically.
They-
Yeah. Okay. And then Jerry also purchased an extra lot and has planted some bananas and some other things here. And this is an example. I like showing these two houses here side by side because you can see this house, which he calls Villa Scoligato, which is like unplugged or detached in Italian. And then there's the Tortuga, which is the second house that we designed and built. Jerry stayed in there. He liked the floor plan. Uh, but he wanted to make it more of an Italian villa style. And we ended up with this, other completely different style home, but with a very similar floor plan inside. So another option is a highly custom home like Ted and Sylvia did. They were talking about a roundhouse. Instead, we did segmented, and it is a 12-sided house. It's a dodecagon. And I actually lived in the house for a while, and it lives so nicely, and the spaces just flow from one to the next, and it's very spacious for really a small square footage. It's only about 1,000 square feet, but when you have an octagon or a dodecagon, you actually get more space inside per perimeter foot, linear foot, per square foot. The ratio is much better. So yeah, it's a beautiful house and it lives really nice. But again, just an example of a highly custom house. And then we have some other lots here that are already sold, but we do have one that they just recently mowed. As you can see, during the rainy season or the green season, if you will, things grow very fast. So we have lot 171, and if we look at it on the map, I'll show you. It is available right here. Yeah. And so it goes here from the road where we are right now all the way to the river, and there's about 50 feet of riverfront. But the thing that's really nice about 171 is the orientation. It faces the river to the west. I mean, to the east, and so the west side over here is where you have the sunset. So in the afternoon, like where we are at this time of day, from actually about 2 o'clock until the sun sets very slowly in the west, and it is kind of heating up the side of the house. Whereas here you're facing the east, so your porch is in the shade, and also the breeze comes from that side. So while it's a little bit narrower lot, it has some really great qualities. And depending on the house that you want, we can certainly design something that fits nicely, has the right orientation, has kind of a long view of the river. You're looking down towards the island and all. So it has a lot of really great qualities. And that is one of our river garden lots. And it's really about the last one that we have available here now. And it is right now it's listed at 59,000, which is a great deal because of, like I said, the qualities that lot has. We also have one. Was it 165 down too?
165.
Yeah, we'll go around and see that one next. Yeah, we're as you can imagine, we're the inventory of river lots is dwindling. All of our inventory is actually, but the river ones seem to be the prime properties people are most interested in. One of the questions we get a lot is about flooding. When you're on a river anywhere, you do have the question about flooding, and we have had floods. They're connected with hurricanes, so it's during the hurricane season, which is now from June to November. Is hurricane season the same as you'll see in Florida or the Gulf Coast? And typically what happens, we have two rivers that feed the Belize River. And so we only get the flooding if it's the perfect storm where both rivers are flooding at the same time. It's very unusual, but it does happen. And it's happening, it seems to be more regular frequency. And so what we've done is we've designed the houses that we know are in the flood area so that they're raised up, structurally engineered to be able to withstand that, with the foundations, the cast in place concrete columns, beams, all of that. And our houses have all done great. Structurally, no problem. But if you have a bunch of stuff on the ground floor, you're going to need to move it and ahead of the flood. But like hurricanes, you get plenty of warning. You can see them coming off the coast of Africa. So we monitor it as a community. And when it looks like we need to be cautious, we're cautious. There's no point in being sorry. Just go ahead and mobilize. And we've got a great community for that. I've been just absolutely amazed at how the community has come together when any kind of adversity, but certainly when we have floods.
This is
So
165. That way.
here we go at 165, right? So it's a really large lot. You can see it goes all the way to the river. It is
It's right next to the
yeah,
easement too. which
kind
is
of
great.
wedge shaped. So there's good point. There's the 20-foot easement here. So it actually, gives you a little bit more, there'll be a maintained easement, but it gives you a little bit more elbow room, if you will. But 165 is a large lot for the river village.
And there's a nice gradual slope down to the river when it's cleared, so it's actually river accessible.
Yeah, yeah. So, we might even want to we could drive over there. Yeah. All right. She's going
Go down the
four-wheeling.
easement.
Woohoo. Yeah. Yeah. So, Chris and Diana's lot here is next door. We'll go right there and then we'll just kind of take a peek down at the river.
Really see it's a little overgrown. but-
Yeah. Okay, so you can see down there's like a natural terrace area there. And Chris and Diana cut some stairs in over next door so that they could access it and have little barbecues and happy hours there. So this is their home, the toucan nest, and they are going to be putting it on the market for sale. So if it's something that you're interested in, please let us know. They got a beautiful rain tree here in the backyard. And then there was some talk at some point about sorry about that. The call was coming in. There's some talk about putting like a little guest cottage or something here. So there is the room and availability to do that. Oh, there's, while I'm here, I may as well. So right next door, and I'll show you on the map, is the lot 161. And so that lot has just come back on the market as well. Something they were both looking at additional property, but 161 is now available. And you can see it has the same really nice river view. And it is, like I said, a little overgrown right now, but it's a beautiful view and access to the river. Okay. Do some more four-wheeling.
You go through their yard.
Yeah, just along the edge here, probably. So the house is the 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath. There's a half bath on the ground floor, and they have a little kind of office area that could even be used as a bedroom, but you'd want to have kind of light furniture, like I said, something that would be easy to move in the event of a flood. And so there's still some finishing touches to be done on the house, but it's really close. I'd say it's about at least 85% complete. And so you have the chance to pick out your own tile and paint colors and some other things like that. But it's nearly complete and very nice house. So something that you're interested in, please let us know.
Can't buy that rain tree though.
No. Priceless.
It is.
Uh-huh.
Wow, it's here.
Yes. So we have let me see the map again. Okay, so orientation time, we are right here. And so the toucan nest here, lot 162, Chris and Diana's, and then lot 161, vacant lot, that's available. And then 157 and 158 are also available. And then there are these lots over on this side right here. In fact, we have a couple who's interested now that are already owners in Carmelita at two adjacent lots. And we only have a few adjacent lots left. There's 126 and 127, 122 and 123. Those are adjacent and available as a pair. And what their interest is, if they do not flood. And so in the worst flood that we ever had, in fact, they say it's like the worst flood in over 100 years. These lots had a little bit of water on them. And so what we're looking at doing as we have all of these construction projects going, we'll be excavating a lot of soil. We'll be also clearing out another river access, which I think we had calculated are going to be about 80 to 100 14-yard loads. And so we can come in here and just raise this up just a little bit on a couple of these lots, and then they will be out of that floodplain, because where it came was like right over here. Can you stop that?
Yep, sure.
Actually, look like I'm nervous. So it came like from right about here across. Like I know this the first cottage, it was behind there was the high water mark, but it was only a few inches deep. So by raising those just a little bit, it'll be high and dry. Then we have another house under construction over here, and this is an exciting development that is part of what is going to be our little kind of boutique resort, if you will. Just a resort with some like hotel style rooms and a little restaurant overlooking the river. There's a nice river view at the end. And this is a tiny house. I know it's big for a tiny house, but it's going to really be nice. And we're going to have another one on the other side. And then right here is where we'll have some attached rooms, and then the restaurant overlooking the river at the end, and then we'll have access down in between. I'll show you on the map. It might be easier to understand. So it's right here, and the tiny house is positioned there. So here we'll have, like I said, sort of hotel style or hotel suites there, and then another tiny house, and they'll be for rent. And then we'll have a restaurant overlooking the river, and a nice deck out there overlooking the river as well. I wonder if talk to Mark. Do you think Mark would mind if we took a peek at his deck?
Oh, out on the.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't.
Probably not. See home. We're gonna. It's what we do, neighbors. We just go and barge in. Mark is actually a really good friend. He's one of the very, very first investors in Carmelita, and he's turned his investment since, wow, it's 12 years ago, I guess, he invested. And all of our lots have appreciated from the very beginning. They've always had a steady appreciation. And so Mark has taken his return on his investment and put it into a riverside lot and a beautiful house. I'm just going to sneak around here real quick and show you to kind of give you an idea of where we're talking about doing a deck connected to the restaurant. It'll be kind of a similar idea to what Mark has here, but it will be more, a public facility. So he's having some work done here with steps and a path. Oh, there's George. Hey, George. How are you? Keeping an eye on the river? Yes. Good. So here's a really nice view of the river. This is actually an island that you may have seen on the map. So a nice island across from Mark's place here. Just put a little bar here, and so nice canopy of trees here. So you kind of get the idea of what is planned for the Riverfront Resort. And see, he's planting a bunch of trees here, different palms. He and some other they have green thumbs. And just about a week ago, Mark and Dave, tree guy, went to nursery south of the capital, Valmopan, and it's just wow, it's a it's a feast for plant lovers. You can get all sorts of different trees. I mean, they've got a list that's as long as Santa's list there of the different kind of fruit trees, hardwood trees, you name it, you can get it. And so Mark and Dave went and bought a bunch of them, and now have George putting them in. And then we have Stephen's house here. You can see we have lots of room for self-expression. He started a mural trend. He has his, and now Harry and Jackie have one, and I noticed that Al has one. Yeah. Here's one of the buildings that I mentioned that started and then stopped, and it's been stopped for a number of years. And we want to avoid that in the future. We didn't have bonding or insurance requirement at the time, but fortunately we do have somebody who's purchased it and is planning to come down in September now. He's been planning for a number of years, one thing after another. 2020 that hung him up, but now he's going to come on down and finish it up. So on the map, again, we're now approaching the other castle, what we call the castle cut. Actually, the house we just passed, the locals refer to it as the castle, big octagon 3-story building. And so here close by is the another river access that we call the castle cut. Oh, you know what? Can you back up? We I just need to go back. We have a resale lot that we want to go ahead and feature. There's lot 151, so right next to the castle. And really good, again, early, just like Mark, one of the very first investors. Ann and Mike came in, and I've known them for years, wonderful folks. And now they had multiple lots as part of their investment. And so here we go. There's this one right here, which is 151. It's a great lot. Again, like you saw Mark's with the beautiful hardwood trees, and you got the river deck around it. This one, again, very similar. In fact, if you want to go a little four-wheeling, we can go and take a look at the riverfront there. And this also, all of the lots here are the large river estates. So they're the largest lots that we have available. They're about a half of an acre. 100 feet, 75 to 100. It kind of varies a little bit, and then 200 to 300 feet deep. So, like I said, about a half of an acre, and just roughly to imagine about the size of a football field is perfect. Yeah, good. So there's a stake right here, and then another one about 100 feet away, and then, like I said, all the way to the road there. And then to give you an idea of the riverfront, got these beautiful hardwood trees here. So a lot of really nice shade. They're on the south side. So during the day, especially during the shorter days of the year, the sun is a little bit lower, so it provides a nice shade. And there's a breeze about 90% of the time. And so you get in the shade, and with some breeze. And so here you go, you've got, and I don't know if you can hear the river, but it's really nice. So right here, there's a little bit of, I don't say rapids, but you can hear, I think there's a little tree that's down and some rocks. And so it's really, really pleasant to be out on the river here. And with the island across, it makes it, I think, even more valuable because nothing will be developed there. That island is not developable. So lots of, you see these beautiful hardwood trees, and then you'll have Derek is a neighbor. He's a great guy, originally from California, but he had a business in Las Vegas for a number of years that he sold and has reinvested, and he's going to come down in September and finish Lord Derek's castle.
I can't wait.
Yeah, me either. Okay, yeah, good. Take this route. This is good because then we can see the castle cut. So the Riverside Park that I showed you at the beginning of the tour, where we launched the inner tubes and canoes, it has a nice, gentle slope, from the road all the way to the river. These were originally cattle cuts when this was a farm and a ranch, so the horses and cattle could get down to the river. And so it's kind of rough. I mean, we still use it up and down, but what we're going to do is carve it out so it goes up this path right here. So it'll be a nice gentle um, slope into the river there. So, launching or landing, because you can also launch here and then you go down to Esperanza. There's another Riverfront restaurant down there, or can continue on to Spanish Lookout. So we've got some of the folks in Carmelita like to go on canoe and kayak trips, and they'll go all the way down to Spanish Lookout, or they'll start up in San Ignacio and come down. They typically go early in the morning, 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, and just a great activity. And one of the things that I just love to see, because the original vision, amongst other things, was that Carmelita would be a healthy place for people to live, with organic food and plenty of activity, fresh air and exercise. And I thought about this when I was first coming up with the concept. A book called Blue Zones came out, and it was all about longevity. And the blue zones are places around the world where there's an extraordinary number of centenarians. And I thought, wow, wouldn't it be great if we could be our own little blue zone here? And it's amazing to see the folks. We've got, I don't know how many octogenarians we have now, but some of them are just fit as a fiddle. It's just amazing to see. So it's a great environment to live and play in, and have great neighbors. And so this area over here is, like I said, you can see the difference with all of the trees. And I'm not sure how much it was contributed by the cattle, but when we started, this was a farm, and there was a fence line and that went right about where this road is. And this was all planted in corn and beans. And then the cattle and horses kind of roamed around inside the fenced area between the river and the fence. Then when we just started developing this area, and we fenced off the whole eastern side, and we had about 100 head of cattle here. And how we eventually, when we had, a population of people, we moved the cattle out. And this area is just trees galore. And so I think the cows were not only good mowers, but they were good fertilizers.
Yeah.
And so this area here is, like I said, very heavily forested. And you'll see as we go around the area by the Maya Mounds and other areas. So if you like trees, this is a nice area. If you like trees and you're patient, you can plant your own trees. And it's amazing in Belize. Yeah, it doesn't take long. It grows fast. So this is a house that is a resale. The lady, wonderful lady, Sandy, who she and her husband came down, fell in love with Carmelita Gardens, designed a house, and then sadly he passed. But she, said, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go down. I'm going to live our dream. But it was, tough for her, lonely, and she has children and grandchildren that she wanted to be with. So she's decided to sell her house. And if all goes as planned for the buyer and, Sandy, the seller, and us, it is sold. And they already own property in Carmelita. So they were very familiar with Belize and Carmelita, and they saw the ad and said, yep, we want it. And within 24 hours, they reserved it to come down and just spend a little time. So they spent about a week or so living in it, seeing how it, try before you buy. And Sandy's been very accommodating. So, like I said, it's sad to see people go. They all have their reasons why. One of the sellers, Vern, he sold his cottage, but he arrives on July 31st. He's coming down. He's going to stay in his old cottage, and the buyers are saying, "Yep, that's fine." And so we have people that come down and still visit, and they're maybe living somewhere else, but they're not really, in spirit leaving Carmelita.
Well, we have
people coming in.
We have the owners of, oh gosh, what lot is it back there? 140 that get here today, and
Yes.
I believe tonight, and they're here for a few days with their kids that are in high school. And then Mike and Mary, who own this lot right here, are coming for a visit in December for a couple of weeks. So for people who are planning to live here, they come down and visit as much as they can before they move down, which is great.
Yeah, that is awesome. Yeah. And we have a lot of what happened right after COVID lockdown was lifted. People just moved down. Their house wasn't even started, or maybe just started, and just said, "We're not waiting. We're moving down right away." So while we do have different rentals, we're pretty booked because of long-term rentals where people just move down while their house is being built. And then when it's finished, they move out, and then the next folks move in. So this is a really neat feature in Carmelita Gardens is we actually have Maya mounds here. And when I was planning Carmelita, I was friends with the then director of archaeology, and he came out, took a look at it, and said, "Yeah, I want to set it aside in a park. And is there anything that I need to know?" He goes, "No, that's fine." He says, "You just can't, take artifacts without a certificate out of the country. That's international crime. It's, trading in antiquities." But my son and I, we've kicked around there before and found pottery shards right on the surface. Some of them like fit together. I mean, it's really cool feature. And so he said, whenever we're ready, just let him know. He's now moved on, but the new director said that we can get teams, schools, professors a lot of times are down and kind of show us how to grid it off. And then let's go down this road here. Yep. And actually have that as a community activity. And one of our owners, whose home will be finished the end of August, has expressed a great interest in being kind of the, spearheading the whole archaeology program in Carmelita. So we've got the major mound there, and then there are two other smaller mounds. And then we see a few areas where there's kind of like a little rise in the ground. So that may be also some other mound of some sort. But this is set aside as a park, and it's right here. So it's a nice sized park. And just looking at the, picnic areas and just little nature trails because of the nice canopy of trees. It's a really nice environment. And so again, we have different public spaces. We've got the riverside accesses, the Rain Tree Park. We've got the recreation area there with the sport court. We've got a nice town square with
And most of your neighbors,
green.
you're not going to be looking right in their back door because
Right.
there's all these very well strategically placed green spaces. And most lots have space between you and the next door neighbor. Some exceptions, but most of them have that.
Yeah, the only ones that I didn't do were the ones that were half acre, where they're already large, where you've already got some elbow room. But all of the other ones have green spaces behind them, or they have the river. And yeah, the requirement in Belize when through the Land Utilization Authority, when you're subdividing, is you need to have 10% green space. We have 20%. And part of that was calculating what the yield would need to be to feed the community. So how much green space do we need for gardens and orchards? And we have enough actually with managed properly. That would be a surplus that could then be donated to the Santa Familia Primary School or other, families in need is the idea. So now we've got a good gardening strategy and farmer. So we hope to get to that level sooner rather than later. So again, here are these nice forested lots. These are rows of the garden lots here. So we are right now at right here by 54, 55, these lots along here. And these are also all of the lots actually around the Maya mounds now are sold. Actually, you know what? Right across the road, and that's a nice canopy road that we came down first. I should have pointed those out. 45 and 46 are available right there. So if you want a Maya mound in your front yard, it's right there, and it's a nice
these have
shaded area.
I mean, I don't know if they're Maya mounds, but big hills on the
Yeah.
east side of their lot, separating the lot from the field.
Yes, that's true. Yep, there is a big mound. I'm sure it's part of this structure, just the location. Yeah. So once we get the archaeology team out here, we'll figure out what's going on with those.
55's been sold, but 54 right here. So you have the easement right here,
yeah.
and then on the other side of the easement, you've got 54, which is nice,
Yeah.
a nice lot, and then the easement making it larger, right, and all this
Right. Yeah.
trees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a nice treed lot. Okay, so with that, I think what we'll do is we'll go around the other. Let's go. We'll kind of zip around this around here, And so we'll head back to Kristen's house, maybe we didn't go down this road, so we'll go that way. And then,
Check out the sport court.
oh yeah, go by there. In the meantime, I think Elisa has been monitoring. I don't know if we have questions and how many people hung in there. Oh, we got a good crowd still, almost 40 people. That's good. And lots of chats there. Let's see, 26 things in the chat. All right. Well, I'm gonna ride into the sunset here. And let me start reading some of these. Excuse me. So, oh, grandma's on. Okay, great. So, yeah, question about river access. Do all of the residents have river access somewhere in the community? Yes, there are 5 river access points, and here again. So, okay, hold that. So we have the Riverside Park. Excuse me, Riverside Park there. There's a river access that we'll actually see. It's right behind Kristen's house. In fact, she chose that property so that she had the immediate access. And then there's another one that is going to be here, which is next to 165. And then there's where the river deck and restaurant will be, and then the Castle Cut over there. So there's 5 points. So the idea of traditional town walkable community is that all properties are a 5-minute walk from the town square. Well, everyone is about also 5-minute or less walk from a river access point. And so that's a really good question, and something that for years drove me crazy about Florida. For years, I had a design and building company in Florida, and you see these developments where it's like, okay, we've secured the beach. Nobody else can get to the beach because there's just a row of houses or condos. So I just was really intent on making sure that we're a riverfront community. That means everybody should be able to enjoy the riverfront. So good question. And yes, there's access for everyone. Are there lots of bugs, mosquitoes, etc.? You know, amongst Belizeans, the Cayo district has this reputation of not having bugs. The reality is we're in the tropics, and there are bugs, but it's not as bad as the coastal area, you know, the islands and all. We don't have the sand fleas, doctor flies. There are mosquitoes, but typically it's at dusk for a little while, like if there's not a real strong breeze. So they're around, and you know, in the tall grasses, you know, you might find ticks or whatever, but it's like Florida is what, you know, I think it's, and even again, mosquitoes not even as bad. And I'm not sure what it is, but we try really hard to make sure that we don't have standing water, which is a critical thing in mosquito control. But I don't, well, you're from Minnesota, you know, that's the state bird, right?
The bugs love me, and I don't really have a problem with them here.
Okay,
So,
good. Yeah. Yeah. So another good and typical question. We get that a lot, but no, it's not bad here. And some people have screen porches, some people don't. So screen porch, like I said, at dusk, go in, you're fine. Okay, Graham. Hello, Graham. um, oh, I don't know about that property. Somebody's asking about another property, so I'm not sure. Are all housing options single family only? So far, but actually, there's on the drawing board. We've got some plans for some multifamily houses, and we're really keen on attracting more young folks, young families, you know, entrepreneurs, people that have portable careers, that kind of thing. So that we can be, you know, like a real kind of small town, you know, multi-generational, you know, just really a lot of interesting and, you know, diverse folks from all around the world. And we have that. We've got a really good start, but we are looking for a little younger demographic. And so what we're finding is that Um, it's, really hard to get financing and mortgages in developing countries. It's very expensive. So we need to have some more affordable options. And so that's where some of the multifamily options would come in. So we are definitely looking at that. That's a good question. All right, we are at Kristen's map here. And let's see, I don't need to see me. Let's see the, okay. So yes, we have, I think one of,
You want to go first?
okay, okay, yeah, and we could
Yeah,
be our guide. Yeah. And so Kristen had mentioned, buying adjacent lots. We have a number of people that have adjacent lots, multiple lots. So she bought a lot next door just so she could have a zip line for the kids, I think. Was that the whole plan, Kristen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she has an extra lot. But right now it is a zip line for the kids. Oh, I wish you could be here. You could feel the breeze. It's really nice. And oh, you got a screen door.
I do.
Yeah. Take my boots off.
Thank you.
Mhm. Don't want to mess up these beautiful teak floors. So we have a neighbor who lives north of the village, and his father, retired oil exec, decided to start a tree plantation. So he started planting teak trees about 25 years ago, and has since passed, but Michael took it over, and now he's harvesting the trees that his father planted and been raised organically, and now has a furniture and wood floor business. So he's made all of these beautiful teak floors, as well as he does teak furniture and cabinets and all. Just a beautiful and fantastic thing to have close by, only about a mile from us. So Kristen's house has 3 bedrooms and 2 baths for her and the 3 children, 2 young girls that share a room, and then Ian has his own room, and then they have this big loft up here for homeschooling and play and storing my stuff. So you want to guide the tour?
Sure.
Here, go.
My room's a giant mess, so I'm.
Oh, so you do, that's why.
I'm busy cleaning it up. So what I asked Phil for was 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, if at all possible. And Phil provided 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, and a loft, which is great. So really open concept kitchen and living area. I wanted space for the kids to be able to eat inside or outside if they had the option. Rather than going with a large closet in my bedroom, I had Phil throw a pantry into the mix, which is fantastic for those of you who like to have a lot of storage space in the kitchen area. And then, like Phil said up above, my kids, being 3 of them, I wanted to have double sinks in the bathroom so I don't have to listen to fighting. I wanted to keep the shower and toilet separate from the sink. So here's the girls' room. Everybody keeps asking why the girls got the best view. As you'll see, their view looks right on out over the river. Laundry room is through here, but Phil designed a Jack and Jill bathroom essentially for the kids. So they can access it from the girls' room, from Ian's room as well. So they can use the shower or the toilet and not be in each other's space. Ian's room goes right into the bathroom and the girls through a very short hallway. So that's a very short tour of my house. We'll go on out to the patio where we can answer. Apparently we have a long list of questions, Elisa says, so we want to go back to the beginning and get to as many of those as we can with the time we have. I'll let you reposition that. I'm not quite sure how you want to do that.
Let's see.
I think you've got
All right. So let's see. All right. let's see, where are questions?
Oh, did we show the view of the
Oh,
river at all? So for those of you who are interested in the river view, I am in the flood zone, but I really wanted to be able to get right on down to the river with my kids. And so as Phil mentioned, I'm kind of right at where a cattle cut used to be. So my kids and I can run right on down to the river. And right now you can walk almost all the way across. It is moving pretty swiftly, so they don't go down by themselves. It does move fast. So if you like having a river view, I highly recommend doing it, even though you might have a little bit of a displacement every now and then for high waters. It's, in my view, worth it.
yeah, it's like I said, there's everywhere there's there's something you need to think about, and you can live all year long for. Oh, I got to turn this around here. Yeah, so like when designing houses in Florida on barrier islands and all of that, you have stuff on the ground floor. You got your barbecue grill, you got patio furniture. You can live. You don't live like every day you're going to have a hurricane.
No.
But when it comes, you say, okay, prepare. And it's just like in Minnesota. I grew up in Michigan. In the winter, if you've got patio furniture in your backyard, it's going to be covered in snow. So
if you're going on a vacation,
year,
you
can't. Right. Just things that you just adapt, and that okay, from June to November, be prepared. Have your stuff ready to go, and have good neighbors. That's
benefit of having a loft too.
Yeah, right. Okay, let's see. More questions.
Go as far back as we can, I think.
So we start. Do we go up and then?
I think you want to go this way. Then.
I did. Okay. Oh, I missed some there. Okay. Can you make your screen principal, please? Oh. Okay. Is that Deep River? It varies from the beginning of the property over by the Riverside Park. It's fairly shallow right there, and then as you go around the peninsula, it gets deeper. And the adage that deep waters run still, or still waters run deep, is true. And so as we're on the inner tubes floating around, once you get to the peninsula, you have to start paddling and everything because it's deep there and the water is moving slow. And then you get around to where the castle cut is, where the island, it's going around both sides of the island. So it gets shallower there and it moves faster. So depending on where you are in the river, it's various depths. And then depending on the time of the year. So we're just into the rainy season now, but up until now, over here by Kristen's house, you could go and put one of the camping chairs, whatever, in the river, and you wouldn't even be like calf deep, and you just sit there, and the times you go, there's my favorite rock is right over there where you can sit in your chest deep on the rock.
Well, and you can also swim, because we have had people ask, is it a swimmable river? And for example, from my river access, if you want to swim upriver, you can get yourself a really good workout swimming toward.
Right.
And then, if you get tired, just float right back on down and hop out at my, access point. And it's deep enough that you're not banging rocks as you're trying to swim back up.
Yeah. So I would say that, during that the time of the year, the dry season, if you will, the deepest part as you go around might be 10 to 12 feet deep, but most of it is somewhere, I would say 4 to 6, 7 feet deep. In the rainy season, that's not when it's really moving. So when you get into like October time, it's not advisable to go on the river. It's moving too fast and it gets deeper, and it will fluctuate by as much as 10 feet. But if there's a flood, it fluctuates by 20 to 30 feet. And so Elisa and I were sitting down there one time and just saying, in the chairs in the river, and saying, just imagine during a flood, we would be 20 feet underwater right now.
Yes.
Like, wow, it's just so. That is the variation, but most of the time, like I said, it's 4, 5 feet to maybe 10 feet. What area of Belize is this? This is the Cayo district, the westernmost district. and the largest district, the hub of ecotourism, with the district capital, if you will, being San Ignacio, um, in Western Belize. And we're actually in the village of Santa Familia, which is across the river from San Ignacio and Santa Elena. Okay, there's a technical question about computers, about screen sharing. Okay, this is where I picked up there. Okay, yeah.
Rental options.
To all residents, yes. Yeah, there we go. And are there any rental options? Yeah, I mentioned before that we do have rentals, but our calendar is pretty well booked up. We do have a few availability slots. We'll have to, so contact us about that, and we'll let you know what the booking calendar looks like.
Yeah, if you're really wanting to stay here at Carmelita, and a lot of our future residents want to be able to come and experience the community, just make sure you email us info@carmelitagardens.com, and we can take a look at the availability calendar. Don't book your flights. Let's make sure we can accommodate you if you really want to stay here. We can accommodate site tours at any time. So if you're coming into Belize anywhere for a visit and you want to come for a site tour, as long as we have a couple days notice, we can set up a tour, of course, free of charge, complimentary. And then we can even arrange a few home tours, for example, walking through my house or some of the other houses that are of the size that you're looking for. As long as we have a couple days, we can usually put that together.
Mm-hmm. Angel, do you have financing for the house that are built? No, the resales, so far we haven't had any owners that are willing to do owner financing. Again, financing and developing countries, not just Belize. We're really spoiled in the U.S. I found that, traveling over the decades internationally and looking and talking to other builders, it's 9 to 13% interest. So we do developer financing on the lots, and it is we do 3-year financing, 25% down with 7% interest. So we do that on the lots. We just don't have the facility to do it on the houses yet, but that is something that Kristen is looking into. She has a finance background, and we do have people that are looking for investments for, getting money offshore, US and Canada primarily. And it is an opportunity to match up investors, lenders with borrowers. But at this time, we still don't have that. It's something that we've been talking about and starting to work on for some time, and hopefully we'll have that.
We'd really like to.
So if anybody, I mean, either side, just let us know,
right,
if that's of interest to you. Ed, how many homes currently are constructed? We have 40, will be 41, 42. And then, like I said, we have another 20 in the pipeline. Are all the unit owners occupied? No, we have some rentals. They're people that purchase maybe just strictly as an investment, or are snowbirds that rent it out while they're away. So we have a combination of that, but of full-time residents, I've done this count a number of times, but I think we have close to 40 residents now, and again, more coming, even moving down before their house is complete. I think Kelly gets in tomorrow, actually, and then.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So anyway, so the population is growing. I would say, in a year from now, we'll probably have 60 people living on site, and then again, still the snowbirds. Randy, it looks like there was a farm next door. Is it organic, or are pesticides used? Unfortunately, Randy, it's a Mennonite run farm, and they do use pesticides.
We did have a conversation with them. So earlier this year, somebody noticed the crop dusting and said, are they allowed to do that so close to a residential area? And there are rules around how close they can be. So they sent somebody out to Carmelita, and they said usually contacting one of the 2 aerial crop dusters in the country, or the farm owner directly.
and re-educating them on the proximity to either the waterways or to residential communities. And I have not seen that there's been anything since January.
They just planted a clump. I didn't see.
Yeah, because they can do it either as a, what do you call, a pre-emergent or as a desiccant. And we didn't see anything with the pre-emergent. So perhaps that had something to do with it and helped, but it does hop on. We have a messaging app that we use as part of the community, and somebody usually pops in and says, hey, we see the crop duster in the distance, and then if people can do anything to protect certain plants or things that they may have growing, we just notify the community, and then folks know, oh, I better close my windows if they're closer to the field or whatever. But nothing since January.
Yeah, we have a signal group. It's like WhatsApp, and so there's always a lot of communication within that group and amongst neighbors. Again, it's a very friendly, convivial atmosphere. People get together, and so Harry started to kind of take up the charge also of that, because again, he's an organic grower from Minnesota, permaculturist. So this is something that we are sensitive about, but again, the thing about a free country, it's a free country, but they're receptive. And like I said, I think
we get that question a lot, and I personally prefer to see them coming in the distance than to go into the stores and purchase stuff that I think is organic. You might have seen the studies that they did going through. I think it might have been Whole Foods. I could be wrong on that one. They found that 60% of the organic foods had pesticide residue on the foods. And so at least, from the perspective of doing what we can within our own community, we at Carmelita use organic growing practices. And I don't really know anybody here who has their own gardens that uses anything other than organic practices. So, with the be the change you want to see in the world, Carmelita's working on that with the organic growing.
Yep. But good question there. And then the next one we have, are there plans for owners to have someone care for land while owners are away? Yes, we have what's called the Community Maintenance Fund, which is going into effect now here. And that looks like, again, Harry's involved in everything. Harry's helping to spearhead that because the government of Belize does not provide services for us to care for our roads, to care for our green spaces. And so we have been doing that as the developer. I've been paying for that now. It's 13 years. Typically, there's an HOA or something that takes care of that. In a municipality standpoint, it would be the city with property taxes that would take care of the parks and the roads and things like that. So now the community's ready to kind of step up. Let's go ahead and pay for that. But each individual lot owner to mow the yard and do the bush hogging, that can be incorporated into the mowing of the common areas, and then just a prorated amount. So Harry is taking over all of the groundskeeping. He's pretty much going to be our agriculture guy. He's going to work with the crew that we have right now that does a great job of mowing and trimming and bush hogging. And then we'll have a prorated amount for each vacant lot, so that it can be cared for while the owner is away. And then if you have a developed lot, or improved, or you have a house on it and you have trees planted, you have a garden, whatever, that can also be taken care of through property management or directly with Harry's company, if it's just having to do with landscaping and lawn care. If it's actually the house, then we also do have that facility as well in property management. And what is the temperature there right now?
It's downright chilly. There's a nice breeze. I'm not sweating. It feels great. I don't know. Upper 70s, maybe lower 80s.
That's a good question. It's very comfortable though. But let me take a peek at my weather around here.
Which is not cold.
It is
86
degrees.
It does not feel like it at all.
But again, we're in the shade with the breeze.
Yep.
So, okay.
I saw Michelle's question. Michelle's saying she wants to see the parrots fly by. I have not seen them. It's nice to see you, Michelle. I don't know if you're still on the line, but I was thinking of you the other day because I saw these little birds making a squawk real close to the house, and they were strutting around like chickens. But they're really small. And then George, who does a Belizean here, does a lot of the lawn care maintenance and landscaping, says they call them ducks in Belize, which I think is funny because when it struts, I'm thinking chicken,
Right.
and if it waddles, it's a duck. But I thought, Michelle, you'd like seeing those birds because I had no idea what they were, and they sure do make a ruckus. There's like a whole little family of them down by the river.
But the toucans, just the other day at Sandy's, there's 3 toucans that were in the same tree, like playing around. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
What are the current internet speeds? I actually just did a speed test yesterday at Sandy's, and I was getting 16 down and 13 up. And she, I think, has like the lowest package that's available. So you can get different speeds up to, what is the highest speed?
I don't know what the highest is, but mine isn't real high.
Okay.
I'm not a technology person. I know because my late ex-husband really always wanted
That's right.
the super fast speeds because he worked a lot in project management and needed high up speeds. I don't know. I do know that at my house here, where I had to go with one of the lower packages, I have enough bandwidth to stream movies without any kind of timing issues. I can have all 3 of my kids on Zoom calls for classes for homeschooling. And I don't really have any issues. So that's about the best way I can explain how fast the speeds have been.
Yeah, so that's the kind of normal use, and even we have people that have online businesses that don't have a problem. I mean, we have an online business, what we're doing right now, in fact, and the high speed I know is that I know for sure is 60, but I think there's higher than that, but definitely 60. And there's continued talk about bringing fiber optics in.
Yeah.
One of our residents, Frank, was really pursuing this hard and heavy, but the local phone company would say, no, you have to pay for it. And it was like a $250,000 investment. And it was like, you know what, we get good speed right now. Let's just wait. There's enough of demand that they'll extend the lines, because the lines are only about a quarter of a mile away. I mean, they're close.
Right.
So we're hoping that extension is going to happen sooner rather than later. But of course, when that does happen, we'll be shouting it from the mountaintops. So you'll hear about it when it happens. In the meantime, like I said, we get good live streaming speeds and enough to do business. What is the pricing for lots and buildings? So the pricing for the lots range from $39,000 to $79,000. You'll find that in our literature and on our email. Our website. So the green garden lots, which are the 50 by 100, where you find the cottages, those are 39. And then the quarter acre, which are the green village lots, are for 44. The green estate, which are half-acre lots, are 49. And then we also have river garden, river village, and river estate, which kind of the same size as they go from, about a quarter of an acre, a third of an acre, half of an acre. Those are 59, 69, and 79. And then for buildings, that's just really depends on the building and, the size, the complexity, the material that it's made from. But I would say, the houses, like you have a cottage that is going to be about 130,000, and that's about 600 square feet. The loft,
including the whole off-grid.
Yeah, right. That's an important point, because we're doing everything off grid. So with a whole off grid package, and the standard off grid package, whether you have a cottage or a villa, tends to be, it's not relative to the cost of the size of the house, right? So you have $50,000 into an off-grid package for your whole water system, your cistern, the eco-friendly septic, the water equipment, and then all of the solar equipment. And you have 130, so 80,000 in the house, 50 for the off-grid package. But then you build a $200,000 house, and it's basically the same system. And even a $300,000 house, they're all pretty close. So the best thing is to just take a look at our website, or we can mail you more information.
I've taken your name down so I can email
Oh,
you
good,
with sampling of different types of homes and the estimated cost to build each of those.
Mhm. Yeah, so the next question is, do you have septic tanks or standard plumbing like in the US? Well, we have standard plumbing like in the US, but we have septic tanks. And in the US, we have a lot of septic tanks as well. I know when I had my design and building company in North Florida, there were some areas of town that had septics, and there are others that had municipal service. The municipal services in Belize are lacking when it comes to that. So going off grid, not only for our independence, but also because the systems are just either not there or inadequate, and also trying to keep a kind of a light footprint. So the multi-chambered septic tanks, they work great, but you have all of the same systems with the plumbing fixtures, the piping, all of that is standard like in the US. But we do use the eco-friendly septic tanks.
I can address the next question on homeowners insurance because I am in the floodplain. So my home is insured. I think it comes out to just under 2,000 US a year. So it's less than 200 a month to insure my home. I have currently the largest home in the community. So if you think about that, it's going to be less than 200 if you decide to build something that's not as large as mine. But yes, we had
and 3 kids.
Right, and 3 exactly. As I understand, and Phil, correct me if I'm wrong, but in October of last year, when we had our last flood, I think there was only one homeowner that actually needed to submit a claim for damages. Most folks who build homes on the river keep their items up high and dry. They have a way to shut off the electricity on the lower levels. So when we know a flood's coming, you can switch those breakers, keep your freezers and your refrigerator on up in the living level, and keep your groceries nice and cold. If you use the lower level or the ground level in the flood zone as a living level, you might suffer some losses. When we did have 2020, where there was the big flood and people had to have file some claims. I think what I've heard, they were here within a couple of months already getting homes cleaned up and fixed up.
RF&G anyway, and Atlantic, both insurance companies, they were like, it's like as the water was receding, they're driving up. Now it took a little while to process it, but they sent their adjusters out right away. And yeah, we have a lot of people that hold policies with these companies, and good policies.
Yeah, and I went with RF&G, who is one of the pricier, because they're known for not, tinkering around with the claims and fighting the claims like we deal with in the States all the time. So from what I understand and have heard from other people, it's actually pretty.
RF&G is great. They have really done, and they do give us a discount as well because volume. So that would be passed along to all owners. Yeah. So the next question
kind of addressed the river depth already.
Yeah. Oh, about fishing. Yeah. So yes, definitely fishing and catching also, not just fishing. You can catch fish. And I've got a good friend in the village, Urban. He's an avid fisherman. So we've been out a number of times. I still haven't caught a tarpon, but he loves to rub it in my face and send me photos of the tarpon and the snook that he catches. Also other, catfish and other fish, cichlids. So yes, there's fishing, and actually there's river shrimp. So the other day, it's like 2 weeks ago, but Elise and I finally, watched the locals getting the river shrimp, and we decided to, take a shot at it. And in 2 hours, I was able to get 3 shrimp.
Oh, were they good?
I let them go.
Catch and release river shrimp. Okay.
But I went out then a few days later, and Elise and I did, and we got 70 in 2 hours.
Wow.
So that we did, God, but that was a nice meal.
Your learning curve is really quick. Yep.
But, so yes, definitely there's fishing in the river.
hiring people to care for your lot and land. We already talked about that one. There's on-site property management that can help. And then, neighbors are always great looking after things as well. But there's, local support for that. How difficult is it for a person to get the right to live in Belize for more than that 30-day limit before one has to go to immigration or an extension? So if you live in a developed country in the world, so the US, Canada, Europe, a lot of those countries, you're able to get your passport stamped. After that first 30 days when you come in, you'd go into immigration, which is the closest one, I think, is Belmopan. And you can just ask for a 90-day stamp. So if you're planning on getting residency in Belize, you would have to go 4 times in a year to get it stamped every 90 days. And then at that point, you can apply for permanent residency. And from that point until you're granted residency, typically can take 9 to 12 months. It's been taking a little bit longer lately because there's been a change in, I think, the structure at immigration, but that's generally the timing. And then after residency, once you get residency, it's 5 years before you can become a citizen.
Okay.
Monthly costs. Oh, hi, Dan. Monthly costs over and above the home and the land. You know what? I think that's really entirely up to the person. So you're not going to have utilities except for gas for your stove and your gas dryer if you have one.
Right, but recommend budgeting because equipment needs to be either updated or repaired, replaced. So
passport stamp is $100 US per month. The homeowner's insurance, there are people who don't do that, but if you want that, you'll want to budget that in. And you can live at Carmelita Gardens without owning a vehicle. But you could even ride your bike into San Ignacio. It's pretty quick. But if you want to have a vehicle, you want to factor in costs for maintenance of a vehicle and gasoline to and from, say, San Ignacio or Spanish Lookout.
And then the community maintenance fund, which I referred to earlier, is sort of, aside from an HOA, this is the thing people are saying, an HOA, and, are we going to have, or do we have, and at some point there will be an HOA that is going to function more, as a community driven thing. It's not about, hey, your mailbox is the wrong color or anything like that.
It's clearly allow you to self-express on your homes.
Mural on your mailbox. We don't even have mailboxes, but anyway. No, the idea with an HOA, from my standpoint, is that the community needs to come together to plan for things like, what if there's a medical emergency? What if do we have a volunteer fire department? What are we doing with our common areas? Do we want to have is there going to be playgrounds? Are going to be that? I mean, those are things that are all in the plan that, as the developer, I promised. As we mature, I mean, the things that we think we want today, or that we think we don't want today, is going to change 5 years now, 10 years from now. I mean, 20, 50. I mean, I've thought of Carmelita Gardens as a place that is here to stay. It's a sustainable community that generations are going to benefit from. So we don't know what's going to happen 50 years from now. And the point of an HOA is to be able to adapt to the things that we can't predict right now. It's an uncertain future. So have the flexibility, have the community involved so that those decisions can be made. Right now, we simply need to maintain our roads, our green spaces, the riverfront, our access to the river, the gardens, which are part of the common area and the green space. And so the residents gotten together and vetted this whole budget. They've looked at all of the different things that the community benefits from that need to be paid for, and at the end of the day, we're looking at somewhere around $500 per year. And I remember talking to one of our residents who has a couple of condos in San Pedro, and I know what the condo association dues are out there. So I intentionally paused. I said, we're looking at about $500. And he's like sitting on the edge of his seat per year. He goes, oh, good. I pay $500 a month. And I'm like, okay. So if you think of it in a way that municipal services are paid for in the states, and that's through property taxes, then if you take the $500 per year and you add the property tax from the Belize government, now you're at $505. That's all they charge.
It might actually be 510.
Or
I
10.
think mine came to 20 Belize.
Was it?
This year,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So
Yeah.
skyrocketing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
So anyway, we're an independent, self-sufficient community. We need to take care of our own roads. We need to take care of our own green spaces and gardens and all of that. And our residents are happy about that. We prefer to do it ourselves and not live in a nanny state where we expect the government to do everything for us. So it's one of the things about being independent together. And so as far as additional costs, that is one, but it's not a real high cost. Cannot wait to come back.
Yeah,
Oh, Michelle, we
Richard.
can't. Yeah,
Back to-
yeah.
I hope everything's going well up there in Canada for you.
So typical cost for lots and construction. We mentioned that. Also, their buy-in costs and monthly. Now, just what we talked about, the just maintaining the common areas is the only additional cost, other than like paying for your own home insurance and the other things that you would have as normal day-to-day costs anywhere, food and things like that. What is the portability of the different for efficacy of septic tanks? So we have a 3-chambered septic with subsurface strip, basically a leach field, so that the effluent, comes out at irrigation quality. It's not potable. I've attended many presentations over the years about the most revolutionary septic tanks and wastewater treatment plants and things like that. And the salesperson will talk about it being potable, but I've never gotten one of them to drink a glass of water in front of the audience. So I'm fine at drinking it, but it's safe. And we keep it away from the river, and we try to be as responsible as possible. And I think we're doing a good job. The Department of Environment has gotten much more active in the 20 years that I've been here. There was no such thing as a central building authority before. There is now, and the DOE back in those days, it was cronyism, and it wasn't about so much about the environment. Now it very much is. I just a couple of months ago had a meeting with the new director, and it was a great meeting. We talked about what Carmelita Gardens is doing in terms of all of the environmental protections, and we got gold stars. If you get on a canoe, which Elisa and I did, part of the requirement was to monitor our waterfront for any erosion. And you go to just where our boundary line is, and it's completely eroded away, the adjacent property, not ours. And there's like a green line where it starts. And then we got all of these beautiful trees that I was showing you, and how it grows up so fast is because we are doing a great job of protecting the environment. But the environment, I mean, it grows. It's great. And then you go to the farm next to us, and years ago, they must have denuded that whole riverfront, because it's only little bamboo that's along their waterfront now. And it's all hardwoods and Hahn palms and everything across our waterfront. So we're doing everything that we can to keep things environmentally friendly.
Transportation in and out of the community, to or from the airport. I'm not sure if, Ed, you're referring to when you live here or just coming for a visit, but we have a shuttle that we utilize to pick guests up from the airport and take them back and forth. There are rental cars on site at Philip Goldson, more economical options off-site that are also quite good. When you're living at Carmelita, if you really want to live without a vehicle, there's public transportation that goes back and forth past Carmelita that'll take you into Spanish Lookout 7 miles one direction, and San Ignacio 7 miles the other direction. And that there's a little, what do they call it, a swing bridge, that if you want to, the hammock bridge that you can bike or walk across to get into Santa Elena. It's just a few miles. So there's and then taxis can come and go from San Ignacio too. So
we have a lot of carpooling also. Again, signal group, hey, anybody going to Belize City? Yeah, or whatever, so that happens a lot.
Yeah, there's the shipper and Spanish Lookout Aero Freight. Regularly someone says, is anybody going in for a pickup at the shipper? and, you know, somebody will grab the packages for them in Spanish Lookout. So
Right.
there's a lot of sharing going on there.
Yeah. What was the Belize response to COVID? How did people respond in general? I think, you know, all things considered, Belize handled it well. They did get a little bit more restrictive for a short period of time. There were a couple of, you know, lockdown regulations that it's like the one that like all public, you know, banks and all that. Only if you were vaccinated could you go and do it,
That
or you had
lasted
to.
like a week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, exactly. Yeah.
And then there was a little bit of a revolt. What I thought was interesting is 7 miles one direction, you have the Mennonite community, which was not thinking it was a thing. So if you didn't want to wear a mask and you wanted to shop, you could go to Spanish Lookout and nobody would say a word. San Ignacio the other direction. So if you wanted to be protected and everybody else around you was wearing one as well, you could go into San Ignacio because they definitely enforced it there. So what I like about Belize is that they don't really have the technology that say other developed countries have for monitoring this kind of thing and enforcing the things that they want to roll out. So I personally took advantage of that. But if you're the kind of person that wanted a country that wants to have the type of rules that the CDC was recommending, you could do that, and you could find the areas of the country where other people would follow it as well. Within the community, it was very much independent together, as Phil has the motto. So if you wanted to be fully vaccinated, fine, go ahead. Nobody's giving you a hard time, and vice versa. So, and we all coexisted very well together the whole entire time. And if you didn't want to join in on a party where people were unmasked, then you didn't go. And, you know, nobody looked at you sideways. So, and then when people needed help because maybe they got COVID, there was somebody in the community who was there to help and, you know, run to the store and get things to help. We have a beautiful alternative clinic in Spanish Lookout where they would do IVs and all the treatments that they weren't doing in the US you could get in Spanish Lookout. The Western treatments were available in San Ignacio and Belmopan. So
retired nurses and doctors.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think one of my favorite things about being here during that time is that I felt like I could be with my people, so to speak, and be around people who had differing views, and we could do that, and it wasn't a thing. Right. So yeah, and to get in during that period, they had PCR tests, but there was no vaccine mandates to enter the country. So unlike the US and Canada and some of the other places, there were no requirements. You just needed a negative PCR test within like 48 hours, and then you could come and go.
Yeah. Who are the builders? So we have one long-term builder, Solace Residential Home Builders, Harrison. He has been with us since the beginning. Started as doing electrical and plumbing work, and now he has built a number of homes on his own. He does a great job. In fact, he and his crew are just there. Oh, perfect timing. Let's see. Got to turn it around here. They're just packing up for the day, but they're building this beautiful house for Matt and Rhonda, who will be here in about 3-4 weeks, and their house will be ready. So that's one of the builders, and now we are bringing on some other builders. We got to turn it around here. Yeah, okay. Turn towards you. They don't want to see me.
Yeah, they do.
And the chat box, there we go. Yeah, so, and we're bringing on new builders. The one of the builders that we have been in conversations with, I'm really excited. He's kind of, we share the same passion for classical architecture. He does historic renovations. He's was originally born in Hong Kong, educated in London, worked in Canada, in Boston, and Boston office, working for a big corporation. He decided to go off on his own, and now he has offices in Boston, New York, Los Angeles, and London, and now in Belize. He's an structural engineer by trade, and his business partner is 20 plus years as a custom home builder in the US and Florida and Idaho. These guys are eminently qualified, and we really have kind of the A team coming on board. And also a longtime friend of mine, known each other 20 plus years. He's a second generation builder from Mexico. We met at a green building conference about 20 something years ago. And so now he's down here as well, working with us. So we've got a good group of builders, engineers, and we're also now developing what we're calling the Riverbend Depot, which is a construction yard and material the receiving and processing place where we can be more efficient with our building. Now that we have so many houses in the pipeline, we can finally take advantage of the economies and efficiencies of scale. So another good question. That is something that we are now prepared for the expansion. In the past, we had just kind of like pickup truck builders, which is just not scalable. Somebody doing, 1 or 2 houses can't do 10. It's just not the right system. So we're developing a system to be able to handle very efficiently, economically, multiple construction projects.
Got a question on work opportunities, or if you need to have a retirement income to last year. No, that not necessarily, Dan. So there's a couple of ways that you can earn an income here. You can either become a resident, and once you become a resident, you can work legally in the country. You can work on getting a work permit. If you were to start a business, I'm not sure about the details, but does the business issue yourself a work permit? Is that how people usually do it? You can open a business in Belize, and then you're permitted to work for your business, your Belizean business.
You can own the business without a work permit, but you can't work.
Okay.
So you can be an owner and you employ Belizeans like that. But if you're going to be materially involved, then you're supposed to get a work permit. It's supposed to, but again, Belize is changing. When I came 20 years ago, there was no central building authority. They weren't hunting people down not that they're hunting people down for work permits, but they're much more aware. They're paying attention. And there have been people that came down on the Qualified Retired Persons Program, the QRP, which is a retired person. And there was one guy that was just too blatant about it, because most of the time they're not really paying attention. But this guy opened up a real estate business, and he had big billboards with his picture on it, and he came under the retired persons program, and you're not supposed to work. You're taking jobs from Belizeans, that type of thing. So they showed up at his house one day and said, hey, listen, you're not a QRP. You're obviously working. So you either need to pay up, all of this, duty exemption and everything that you got, you need to pay back, or you need to get out. And I think he actually decided to just leave rather than pay the tens of thousands of dollars that he rightfully owed. He was kind of, trying to get away with something, but not real smart about it. It's like a big picture. Billboard.
Maybe be a little more under the radar, but that's a good point, because people ask, what about the QRP program? That is something that it's really good to come down for a visit, talk to people who are on it or have done it. We actually have residents in the community that came in on it and then decided to go the traditional route because of just the nuances of the program. So it's rather complex.
It doesn't lead to
permanent residency. Right, exactly. So you definitely want to talk with folks to get an idea if that's what you want. Are there any shopping areas? Sure, there's shopping all over. It depends on what you want. San Ignacio has a really big market on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. It's open every day. But the really big days are Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, and they have food and clothing and hammocks and, you name it, all sorts of stuff you can get there, big open air market. If you want to have a department store type concept, Marab in Belize City is a good place to go if you want to get furniture or fixings, decorations for the house. So you can find just about everything you can find in the US. When you're here for a while, you start to figure all that out. They don't have great websites per se. A lot of them operate on, say, Facebook Marketplace or through WhatsApp. So it's definitely a little bit more work, But I actually appreciate that.
It's more, yeah.
I
I
buy
think-
what I actually want and need instead
Mhm.
of just what's in front of me and flashy.
Yeah, it's to me. I mean, I love it. Now, maybe it's not for everybody if you're a shopaholic,
Right.
but it is old school mom and pop
Mhm.
kind of operations. There's not big box stores. There's not big malls and all of that. So, if you're a real shopaholic and you love to go to malls, Belize might not be for you. Or you're going to have to go up to Chetumal, Mexico every once in a while to get your fix. And there you find what are all, some of the big box
Home
stores
Depot
and
and,
that, and
Sam's Club,
yeah,
Walmart. Yeah.
Liverpool or what, those kind of, department stores. But like I said, or like Kristen said, that, if you'll find what you need, you just need to know where to find it. And fortunately, you got a community here that already know a lot of that. So you can take some shortcuts by just coming down and getting to know your neighbors.
Right. There's a question about community council decision-making body and structure. We're working on that right now, Ed. So that's part of what's gonna be put together as part of the community maintenance fund. So there is not one at this point, but that would happen as that maintenance fund is started and
Yeah.
forward.
So the idea again is to not be a pesky HOA, but to just make sure that the community does have, like I said, a council. I call it the Carmelita Gardens Assembly, and that there would be regular annual general meetings, that there will be a board and officers elected, and we're about at that point now. Up until now, we had fewer people living here. We're starting to get close to that, and actually, I think it was January, or maybe it was early February 2020. We had our first big meeting because we started to have enough of a population that it seemed like, okay, it's time to do this. And one meeting and then lockdown. And it really through 2022, we're all just kind of getting ourselves, back together, so to speak. That the people that had gotten locked out, like on one of our main builders, he was locked out. He couldn't be here. So we really kind of needed a little time to get our feet under ourselves again. And now we do. And there's great interest in the community. And we're fortunate that we have a community full of really smart and caring people that have experience, whether they were, well, the ones that actually have experience like on HOA boards, they don't want to have anything to do with it. I'm kind of joking. But now we do have ones that have been treasurers or presidents on HOA boards before, or actually actual town councils. And so, kind of leaning on their experience is what we're going to do. And if you have experience in that and you want to be part of that and join the community, that would be great. That's what we're looking for. Transportation. Oh yeah, I think you were referring to an earlier question, right? Was recommended building material for level 1 to avoid mold or wood and other damages. So right now we are using a product called Coventech, and it's an insulated concrete form, if you will, where the insulation is on the inside and then concrete on the outside. And so it's a very resilient and sustainable material where you don't have to worry about wood rot. With that said, a lot of the woods that we use here are native hardwoods, so they are sort of more naturally resistant to the mold and wood rot. But we do use on all of our buildings, we use 2 coats of the primer with the mildew inhibitor in it, and then 2 coats of the finish paint with the mildew inhibitor and stain blocker on it as well. So we are aware of that, and one of the things you can see is the homes that have been here now. Our first home, the Serafina, was built in 2011. So we have homes that are 12 years old and are holding up really well.
And you don't notice, I've stayed in the Tortuga, which is one of the older homes, and you don't get like, there's such a nice breeze here. They're not wet for very long if they are. And where I lived over in Banana Bank before, there's kind of that musky smell of things because you're, you know, more in the jungle. So I will tell you though, that living in the home in Banana Bank, as we had first lived here, they had flooding because of the October 2020, and all their cabinets in the house were under about 6 inches of water, and the areas of, and they had mahogany.
Oh,
The areas of the house that had problems with like wood lice was above where the water was. So
Oh.
the mahogany that was under the water was not the problem. It was some of the woods that they used for like trim within the mahogany cupboards that wound up having issues with the wood lice. So yeah, it wasn't the mahogany. Yeah.
How long on average for a river to recede?
What was that, 3 days or something?
Yeah, so there was one in 2016 that was like 18 hours. Yeah, it was up and down. And then 2020, which is the worst. Of course, you know, 2020 is the year with the asterisks where everything's, you know, crazy. But that one, that was about 3 days for it to finally, to, like I said, where it was like that. And then the insurance company is coming in. I'm like, it's like, I'm watching, it's like, okay, the water's receded. Okay, we'll be right there. And then boom. And so it was about 3 days from when it started to breach the bank to when it was out.
Well, and the last one was like Monday to Wednesday. So Monday to Wednesday or Thursday, something like that. But I can't, because I was living at Banana Bank at that time as well, which is further down the river toward the ocean, Belize City. It took them over a week before it had fully subsided. So where we are closer to where those two rivers converge, it actually goes down much quicker than, say, the closer you get to Belize City, which is nice.
Yeah. And does mud become part of the flooding? There is silt. It's not loads of heavy mud or anything like that, but there's still, we do have water cisterns that will get some silt in there. So like immediately, again, we recovered very, very fast. I mean, there are areas in Belize that were months and months and months before they fully recovered. Like 2 weeks after the flood. And this is, you know, the big flood where some trees came down, you know, things like that. And there were houses that needed to have their cisterns cleaned out and sanitized and all of that. 2 weeks later, I remember my good friend Tim, we've known each other 30 years. He lives here, came down years ago. And we were driving around and he just like, flood? What flood? What flood? I mean, really, you couldn't even tell that there had just been a flood. So with the,
and even Dan and Irba's gardens down there have bounced back.
Yep, right.
They have a lot of stuff planted down.
So some silt is, it's definitely part of it, but it's not like mudslide kind of mud. What taxes apply to lot purchase and building of a home? So this is a really good question and very important to understand the distinction. So the stamp duty, which is like a transfer tax, that applies to the lot purchase, and you want to go ahead and get that done right away before building a home, because what the lands department is doing now that they didn't used to do, they have this great new app. It's not that new, but they're now using it called Google Earth. And they get on there and they look, it's like, oh, look at that rooftop right there. The valuation all of a sudden skyrockets, even though you bought the lot before you started building the house. And we have documentation, and we're trying now to convince the commissioner of stamps, which is a position that was created by the last administration, it's maybe 5 years ago, I guess now, specifically to monitor valuations. And they never used to. Somebody do developer financing, but they want to start the house. Okay, no problem. Just keep making your payments and build the house, blah, blah, blah. And then they make their last payment and we do the deed of conveyance. And we just put in the valuation of the lot. And it would go through. But then they're like, oh, wait a minute. We see that there's a house on there. It's like, yeah, but there wasn't a house on there when they bought it. Yeah, sorry, there is now. And so we're trying to convince, okay, if somebody wants to do that, if they want to do developer financing and put a house on it, here's the contract, here's the documentation, here's a photograph from Google Earth, stamped with the date. We haven't convinced her yet, but we keep trying.
Yeah. The safest way to do it
Back to the point, yeah.
is to have the lot fully paid before you build. And that process takes, well, Elisa's really been fine tuning that. So
Yeah,
it used to be upwards of a
7
year, but
months,
now,
I think is about what to expect.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of just all of the moving of paper, the bureaucratic stuff at the lands department.
Mhm.
And, oh, and the stamp duty is 8% on the valuation of the property or the property and the structure. So if you build or if you purchase an aftermarket home, and then there's 2%. So closing costs are 10%, 2% covers the administrative, legal fees, et cetera. And that's essentially the total of the closing cost to purchase a lot and or home.
Right, and so taxes on the home, that's all, that's incorporated into the cost. I mean, there's what's called the GST, that's 12.5% that you pay on materials and, other items. But the cost of the home, that's all incorporated into the cost of the materials, labor, everything else.
With your estimate, yeah.
Yeah, and then we, all our, builders, estimators know, what things incur GST, because again, the Mennonites are, they do their own thing. Some charge GST, some don't. But we know which ones do. And so we factor that into the cost of the house. So there's not additional cost on top of that. And unless it's a resale, but now if it's a resale from an individual, because they're not in a trader business, they don't have a business, they're an individual. So all of our resales are private resales. We don't do spec homes. If we did a spec home and we sold it, then there would be a 12.5% GST on the whole cost of it. So it's expensive to do that. So we don't, we just do houses to order, basically. Is there a cargo storage area if one's cargo arrives before that? Oh, hey, Sheila.
Yes, Sheila, bring your cargo storage down. The construction yard that we have up near the road on the north side of the property, the depot, is where those containers are going. And is a nice way of keeping the containers in an area that's walled off, and you're not looking at a bunch of unsightly containers, kind of speckling the community. So they go up into that area, and you can keep your things there until you're ready. But your house is ready, Sheila, so you'll be able to just get that right on in there.
That's right. Yes, I was referring to Jerry's house earlier. I need to change that to Sheila's house. Okay, so the last question that I think, because my battery is saying that I'm at 6%, and the sun is almost down. So does it cost extra above the list price to put a home on stilts? Randy, we'll have to take a look at which list price that is. I mean, I know we have our cottage price, we have a bungalow and a villa. I think the villa that's there, we have it priced on stilts, but the cottage is not on stilts. So I think what talk to Luis, our architect, about is actually we should do that. It's on stilts or at grade.
Right.
Basically there's 2 options. So we'll do that. Can you make that note? I want to, yeah. So we'll price out. We'll adjust our our material to have it on stilts or not.
I can tell you that if you want a concrete slab under your house that's raised, it will cost extra.
Yes, it does. Yes.
But it is worth it.
It is. Oh, it's great.
I love having a concrete slab underneath the house. It really is a nice thing to enjoy. I think that's the end of the questions.
That is.
Somebody liked Randy's question earlier. So good job, Randy.
Okay. Well, again, thank you all so much for joining us. And better than this, better than virtual is, yes, in person. Come on down and join us, and we will plan a special time to enjoy sunset on the river when you're here. A lot of times when folks come down, we'll have potlucks and other events, and go and hang out down by the river.
I think that's one of those nope, that's one of the ducks.
So, all right. Y'all have a great rest of the evening. Here, so we can say goodbye.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody. Okay.
Thanks for
Bye.
attending,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Oh, if you have questions, please email us at info@carmelitagardens.com, and I'll be getting back to you to answer any questions that you have. Happy to have separate conversations as well, off of the tours, to have a personal chat and get into more detailed stuff that pertains to you.
Yep. All right. Bye-bye.